You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Today on our Weight Loss Wednesday show, we're going to get right into how you can increase your own natural fat loss hormone. So the hormone that we're going to talk about today, maybe you've read about it online before or even seen it in some of the more popular weight loss books, the more popular natural weight loss books, is a hormone called leptin. So leptin is an actual hormone in your body that, when functioning well, signals your body to lose weight and to drop weight. So essentially what happens is this. As our bodies get inflamed, as we start to add even more weight, and how we have hormone imbalances in general with higher levels of estrogen from certain foods that we eat, as well as the environment, as well as our own natural hormones, we also start to produce less leptin. So when our bodies produce less of this hormone leptin, we actually start to gain weight. So that's the amazing thing about this, is that this master, we'll call it weight loss hormone, tells our bodies to either lose weight naturally or gain weight. And so the other interesting thing I find is this, that those who are leaner, who are slimmer, who it's more challenging for them to actually gain weight, have higher levels of leptin, meaning like their bodies respond more appropriately when they start to eat more food. They can just burn it off. They can not store as much of that body fat. But what they found that is people with the highest levels of inflammation can not only lower their leptin levels, but oftentimes their actual leptin levels can be normal or even high, which means they should be losing weight, but it's blocked at a cellular level. So what does that mean? Well, what it means is this, that you could literally be eating foods right now that are causing you to gain weight. And the reason is this, certain food sensitivities increase inflammation in your body, and that inflammation then blocks leptin from doing its job. Okay, so if leptin gets blocked, we're not going to be able to lose weight as efficiently as we should naturally, like a lot of other people might be able to, which is why studies have shown that as we decrease inflammation, and we even start to lose weight because of we're decreasing inflammation, then leptin levels can then become restored to normal. They can actually have that normal cellular function. So the hard part is this. The hard part is just kind of getting that train moving forward. And then once it's moving forward, once inflammation starts to go down, then we can start losing weight again. So now let's talk a little bit more specifically. When someone has these food allergies, what happens? Well, when we eat a food that we have an immune reaction to, meaning like, let's just say we're putting cheese in our body. That's a very common food sensitivity is cow's milk or cow's dairy in the form of cheese, which a lot of people eat. And also your cream or your milk, typically more milk, in coffee, that causes that immune reaction as well, or in cereal or anything like that. So what happens is when you put it into your body, you can actually have your own immune reaction against this food, this foreign invader. And it's not just the sugar. Remember, when you put dairy in your body, and it doesn't just have to be dairy, but when you put dairy in your body, a lot of people confuse it that they're actually sensitive to lactose. That's the sugar in dairy. And then they just take something called lactase, which is like kind of like the lactate or different things like that as an enzyme to actually break down lactose. Okay, we can take care of that through fermentation and other processes like that. But most people are not having the reaction to that. That's just a sugar-based reaction, meaning like literally you can't break it down and it gives you diarrhea. Okay, but most people are actually having a food sensitivity to the protein in the food. And the protein in dairy is predominantly casein. So let's not make it a big dairy show today. But what happens is with any food sensitivity, your body is then causing an IgA, IgG, IgM, IgA reaction to this food. And that Ig just means immunoglobulin, and then they put a letter after it meaning the type of immune-based reaction. So if your body has an immune reaction to the food, that immune reaction causes inflammation just by the very nature of that reaction. So when we have this inflammation, not only is it in the gut, but it can also become systemic, okay? Meaning throughout the whole body. And then when this happens, our bodies actually not only does it make it more challenging overall to lose weight because we just talked about leptin, but also what happens is it starts to change the flora of the gut. And we know when the flora of the gut changes, it's actually more difficult to lose weight as well because we burn off some of the bacteria. We eliminate some of the bacteria that we would like to use in order to help lose weight and maintain good gut homeostasis. All right, so back to leptin. What can we do? Well, here's what we can do. We have to decrease the inflammation, right? Let's not worry about how to increase this specific hormone. Let's talk about why it was blocked in the first place, which is called leptin resistance. It's blocked because of inflammation. Okay, so you can run a food sensitivity test, very straightforward. You just poke your finger and you put some drops of blood on a card. You can get that right in our stevencabral.com/store. Or you can just start to eliminate inflammatory foods in general, the inflammatory foods being the more processed ones as well as dairy. And you can also begin to add more anti-inflammatory foods into your diet, which would be any type of omega-3 fats, because those block the inflammatory prostaglandins, they're called, of these inflammatory foods like corn-fed or conventionally raised beef and meats, all processed foods in general. Even some nuts can be just much higher in the omega-6s. However, I don't recommend necessarily eliminating those at first. And so what we're really trying to do is we're trying to increase then our omega-3s. So we can get that from salmon or trout, obviously wild preferred, or you can take an omega-3 fatty acid supplement. You can also increase I like to increase it by the phytonutrients in berries. So that's one of my favorite anti-inflammatories out there. And what I recommend is typically blueberries, and then I'll recommend some raspberries. And then after that, I might recommend blackberries and cherries and those as well that are, might be FODMAP, but easier for most people. Okay, those are absolutely fantastic to use as well. Grapefruit can be a nice one too, as just an overall anti-inflammatory. And then all of your vegetables. If you can get more green leafy vegetables in there, you're going to be doing a lot better in terms of anti-inflammatories. If you're not sensitive, if you did a food sensitivity test and you're not sensitive to like almonds and flax seeds and walnuts, those can be great as well. Even Brazil nuts. Brazil nuts can be nice and high in selenium, which help with detoxification. For my proteins, I would typically stay towards more of like the fish. Some eggs might be okay. Again, we're trying to decrease inflammation, then we can ease other things back into the diet. And then lots of herbs and spices. So herbs and spices in general, for most people, if tolerated obviously in the gut, can be really anti-inflammatory as well. In terms of beverages, try to stick with your water. I do like ginger tea in general, great for detoxification, great for cleaning the kidneys as well. And that's what I would stick to. I would really look to all of those foods. It's not challenging to do. And really what I do is I put people on an anti-inflammatory elimination diet like this for 21 days. And after the 21 days, it's amazing things that happen. It's really, really incredible. You might be working on it in terms of weight loss, but I'm working on it in terms of health. And weight loss is just a fringe benefit. Like when I created the Dr. Cabral Detox, I created originally for people with autoimmune-based issues because those are the hardest people, right, to work with. They have this deep-rooted immune balance, right? It's not really their immune system's dysfunction. It's like their immune system's too high on either the Th1 or Th2 branch, and our job is really to balance it. It's not necessarily to squelch it or anything like that. That doesn't, from a natural perspective, make a whole lot of sense. So what we did with the detox is we built an anti-inflammatory nutrition plan from the healthiest foods really on earth, and then what we did too is we made it low glycemic, so we could balance blood sugar levels and hormones from that perspective. And then we added in what the body needs just to do its job. My job is not to tell your body what to do. My job is to give your body, and especially your liver, everything it needs to detoxify the body and squelch inflammation on its own. So that is what we do. And you can obviously just go to drcabraldetox.com and you can see the nutrition plan I have right on there. You can see exactly what we do. The information is all free right there. If you feel like it's the best fit for you, then great. Then you can do what essentially everyone does at my practice to start before we have to fine-tune things if necessary. So that's there just as a guideline for you. But in general, if you can increase your anti-inflammatories like the berries, like some of that great fish, like the herbs, like all the vegetables under the sun, and decrease those inflammatory foods like for right now, any really beef in general, pork in general, conventionally fed animals that are fed corn and soy and a lot of high omega-6s, that's not going to help. So this is hopefully a great start for you. And again, it's a little unconventional in looking at weight loss, and that's what we're all about. I think you're tired, and I'm tired of people saying, oh, you just need to eat less and exercise more. Well, I can tell you for the majority of the people that I see, they're eating better. They really are. They might not be perfect, but they're certainly eating better, and they are exercising. They're moving their body. They're getting those 10,000 steps. So it's like, what do you do after that? Well, after that, you have to actually look at the science. You need to find out why some people burn body fat better than others, besides body types, and also what could be going wrong in the body. This absolutely does work. It's guaranteed to work, and I really want the best for you. So hopefully you found this episode helpful, and pass this on. If you know anyone who's struggling with weight loss right now, and they're trying to achieve a better weight for them, not necessarily from a vanity standpoint, but really from a health perspective, please pass on a healthier way to do just that. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to another episode of The Cabral Concept. Did you know that the body really only becomes sick or imbalanced in only two ways? Over time, you become deficient in vital nutrients, and you also accumulate toxins internally and from the environment. As those nutrients diminish and you increase your total toxic load, your body then begins to show the first signs of dis-ease. It's actually quite predictable, and the good news is that if we know how you began to fill up that proverbial rain barrel, we also know how to empty it to begin the healing process. I was fortunate enough to learn this ancient healing process from my mentor after suffering from debilitating diseases for close to a decade. It was only when I began to implement these techniques did I finally overcome my illnesses and go on to live a life of energy and vitality that I now enjoy. I'd like to share with you now what I discovered after traveling all over the world and how to combine the best of ancient healing wisdom with state-of-the-art science. Allow me to teach you exactly how I've been able to help over 250,000 people to empty their rain barrel and begin to transform their body and lives into what they've always hoped they could be. To get your copy of the international bestseller, The Rain Barrel Effect, simply go to stephencabral.com/rainbarrel.